Now to the controversy over an upcoming visit to the United States by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. He's set to meet with lawmakers a few weeks before elections in Israel. But don't expect to see him at the White House. As CCTV's Nathan King reports, the visit is causing a backlash there.
The last time Benjamin Netanyahu campaigned for re-election in 2012, the issue of Iran's nuclear program was centre stage. And so it is again. But 2 weeks before Israelis go to the polls, the stage this time will be Washington, D.C., and an address to a joint session of the U.S. Congress. Netanyahu was invited by the Republican leadership, which now controls the U.S. Congress and shares the Israeli Prime Minister's deep suspicions of a potential nuclear deal with Iran. The White House feels Netanyahu and Republicans are playing politics, and the administration says the visit could undermine the negotiations. President Obama will not meet Netanyahu while he is here.
We have a practice of not meeting with leaders right before their elections, 2 weeks before their elections.
Personal relations between the U.S. president and Netanyahu were already frayed, and the failure of the Palestinian-Israeli peace talks, the Israeli military campaign in Gaza, and continued settlement building in occupied territory have deepened the division to the point where senior U.S. officials are calling next week's planned speech destructive.
It's destructive of the fabric of the relationship.
Aaron David Miller is a former U.S. negotiator on Middle East peace and knows Netanyahu well. He thinks this rift is far more than a personality clash between two governments.
This is less personal, frankly, in my judgment, than it is driven by fundamentally different worldviews. Netanyahu has a different view. He sits in a different place.
Netanyahu is convinced Iran wants a nuclear weapon, and he's been sounding the warning about that prospect from the United Nations to the campaign trail, where this week he said world powers are caving to Iran and will allow it to produce a nuclear weapon. He's set to repeat that message in Washington. According to Israel's opinion polls, Netanyahu has a narrow lead, but many think his speech to the US Congress is a political move designed to give his re-election chances a boost.
I don't think that there's a single member of Congress that doesn't know what the Prime Minister of Israel's position on the issue is. So the notion that he has to come and make this speech at this moment in order that they know what he thinks, I think is not the case.
The rift over Netanyahu's speech continues to divide Washington. Many Democrats, including Vice President Joe Biden, will not be attending the speech. Netanyahu then refused a meeting with Democratic leaders. All this may sound like petty party politics, but many here in the US Capitol say they can't remember a time as when Israel-US relations were in such a deep freeze. And if Benjamin Netanyahu is re-elected, then they could take some time to thaw. Nathan King, CCTV, Washington.